And welcome back, everybody, to Two Goalies, One Mike, episode 218, brought to you by Fatty Beer Company, Western New York's premier market and tap room with over 300 beers to choose from at 7 different Western New York locations. If you want to grab a beer, I know they're doing a lot of stuff for the Olympics, watch parties. If you're looking to somewhere to buy time until the next Sabres game on the 25th, get over to your local Fatty Beer. Again, 7 different Western New York locations. Of course, Extreme Discount Mattress with Western New York's finest selection of mattresses and adjustable beds featuring cool gel and memory foam, 2-sided mattress, Tele Latex, organic mattress, Chatham & Wells, and of course, Scott Living, all for 1/3 to half the supposed sale prices anywhere. So stop in on their 7 locations across Western New York or check out their website, extrememattress.com. Extreme with an X. If you're looking for more savings, check out their new closeout center at 1625 Walden Avenue in Cheektowaga with the 80% off their already low prices. Save a fortune on one-of-a-kind closeouts and floor samples. Get a quality match for literally pennies on the dollar. Extreme Discount Mattress. We sell mattresses for less, a lot less. And remember, if you mention that you're a fan of Two Goalies, One Mike, you get yourself a free mattress protector and Impulse Physical Therapy, Western New York, located at 5087 Broadway, Suite 100 in Depew, New York. 5-star facility, 5-star staff. They're helping me get back on the ice from my pretty severe leg injury from almost a year ago now, last February. Or you're looking to get your sports testing done. They have it all. Again, very, very high-end facilities there. And let them know again that we sent you our Two Goalies on Mike. So without further ado, after a long-winded ad read, we are joined by one of our favorite guests, returning guests. I know we've had you on since, honestly, the offseason. Mike Harrington from the Buffalo News. Mike, thanks for popping in.
Gentlemen, always a pleasure. Duane, that's a hell of a run on the entrance music there. I was rocking that pretty good. But let's talk about something else here real brief before we get started in hockey talk. And people can check it out on the Twitter feed. What is up with that caricature photo? Where in the world did that thing come from? What is that? That large mustache is almost like an organism to itself. That thing. I was like, you got to fill me in here.
Are you talking about the one from the photo that we did for the episode? Or are you talking about his mustache down here on the screen?
Yeah, right. Well, it's somewhat similar to that, but I'm talking about the one that's on my face. You know, I got quite a kick out of that. How you took the photo of my background here and then mixed in the caricature with it. So it definitely jumped off the screen at me.
I'll say this: we probably have one of the best media graphic teams when it comes to your local podcasts. I'll give a shout out to Jeff Hastley, that he was the brains behind that one.
All right.
I laughed a little bit too when I saw. I was like, that's good. That's good. I think Michael
good. Yeah, I definitely had to swipe a screenshot of that one for posterity.
It's definitely good. No, Mike, it's been in a minute. We're on a long break here. A lot to talk about, but before we get to talking about the Olympics, we were kind of preemptively talking about it before we went live here. Your thoughts on the Sabres season so far? We all follow you on Twitter. You're a no BS type of guy. Obviously, coming into the season, there wasn't a ton of optimism. Maybe we're more skepticism than anything. But are we going to make the playoffs, Mike Harrington? Is it going to happen? 25 games left. This is the best season they've had probably since the last time they made the playoffs. Is this Buffalo Sabres team, as it sits, this roster, healthy, going to make the playoffs?
Now, I wrote in the preseason preview section, I was not predicting them to make the playoffs, and that was something I was doing in perpetuity because they were going to have to prove it to me before I would ever predict it again. And here we are now on February 10th during the Olympic break, and I can say unequivocally the drought is going to end this season. And in fact, the 2 longest droughts currently running in the NHL are going to end this season because the Buffalo Sabres and the Detroit Red Wings are both going to make the Stanley Cup playoffs, and those 2 droughts are going to be over. This team has proven more than enough that as long as they don't have some massive epidemic of injuries here, that they will win enough games in the last 25 to collect enough points to be one of the top 8. You look at the rest of the Eastern Conference, no one's intimidating. Really, the issue the Sabres have is they haven't won at Carolina since 2016. Other than that, to me, anything is live here if they could avoid a first-round series with the Hurricanes. And I think the Sabres' goal, like Alex Tuck said, is not to just sneak in. Their goal is to finish as high as possible. Their goal needs to be second in the Atlantic Division, get a home ice advantage in the first round of the playoffs, probably get in a matchup with Detroit or Montreal, and avoid Tampa Bay or Carolina in round one.
Yeah, I mean, I know you're going to say Carolina has definitely been the Achilles heel. Hurls.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they played well here, but 10 years of losing at Carolina, you're not winning a first-round series if you can't win on the road.
I think it's a bad matchup for a lot of teams. Obviously, they haven't advanced to the Cup final since 2006, but I think they're probably, aside from the way Tampa has been playing in the past couple of months, the most well-rounded team in the East. So these last 2 months specifically have obviously gotten the Sabres into this position, and it directly coincided, at least 3 games into it, with the firing of Kevyn Adams. I think that's been a point of discussion, at least among the fan base, how much that tangibly has affected the group. What have you noticed being around the team? Do you think that obviously the GM doesn't necessarily have as much of a tangible effect on the day-to-day play of a team, more so the roster, but do you think the firing and the culture shift of bringing in Jarmo Kekalainen actually had a tangible impact on this team from mid-December on?
Connor, it's the greatest in-season GM bump in NHL history. You hear the coach bump, you fire the coach. Look what's happening in Columbus. We've never seen a GM get fired and have the team go like this. But here's a couple things to remember. The first thing is they thought they were going to be good. They thought in training camp this was the team they had. The surprise to them was how badly the season started. Now, a lot of that can be traced, I think, to the injury to Norris on opening night, to the injury with Luukkonen in training camp. We had that run of 4 straight overtime losses, which kind of sent things spiraling in a bad direction. But they thought they were going to be good. So where they were after 30 games was actually the surprise to them. Okay, so now you fire Kevyn Adams. It became untenable. He couldn't stay. He had lost the faith of the fan base. He had lost the faith of the locker room. I think Terry Pegula had advisors saying to him, it's an untenable situation. It has to end. What changed? The players didn't change because Jarmo Kekalainen couldn't make any moves because they were in the middle of a winning streak. They ended up winning 10 in a row. You can't go make trades at that point. What changed was the feeling that there were now adults in the room. Rasmus Dahlin made the point right away on day one. This guy's been a GM in the league for 11 years. You know how to be a GM. So what did Jarmo Kekalainen do? He brought in Marc Bergevin, only a former GM of the year who led the Montreal Canadiens to a Stanley Cup final. He brought in Josh Flynn from Columbus, who's a noted capologist. He brought in, what's his name? I can't think of his name now. Stacey Roost from Tampa, former assistant GM, 2-time Cup winner, did a great job running the Syracuse Crunch. And now all of a sudden your NHL experience, your front office acumen is far above what it was when Kevyn Adams was the GM. So everyone in that locker room knows we got NHL front office people supporting this team. And that really made a big difference in that room. And it coincided right when the guys in the room started feeling better about how they were playing, how the guys got healthy. The goaltending really picked it up. The defense really took off. Everything kind of went on that upward plane at the same time. And it really does go back mostly to firing Kevyn Adams. Ironically, he got fired on a 3-game winning streak. He put all this team together. He made all these trades. He made all these draft picks. It's pretty ironic. He's going to get GM of the year votes probably. But, yeah, we've never seen anything like it really almost in the NHL. And here's the one other point, guys. A lot of teams should be firing the GM instead of the coach. The coach usually gets it. Lindy Ruff got it in New Jersey when Tom Fitzgerald should have been gone. What did Tom Fitzgerald do as soon as he fired Lindy Ruff? He suddenly went out and got a couple goalies, which is what Lindy Ruff needed at the time. The GM should go much more than the coach does. And you know what? The Sabres figured that out, and they're seeing some benefit of it for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, you fire the GM before the coach unless you're the Buffalo Bills. Let's be real.
Yeah.
Anyways, no, I agree with you. Now, my question to you, and we've talked about this a lot on the show. Do you give it any credence that the team again, yes, they got healthy for that 10-game win streak, post firing. Do you think it's accurate to say, and especially given what Tage even said, that like before even introducing himself to the team as the GM, he flat out said, I have an open door policy. Like, if you don't want to be here, come talk to me. If you're not performing, we'll find a different circumstance for you. Do you think it's accurate to say that the reason they're performing at this level for Jarmo rather than they did before for Kevin and being more consistent, and you're never questioning the effort anymore, is because maybe Jarmo has instilled that little bit of panic and fear into them? Because, hey, I don't care what your name is. If you're not performing and not earning that contract, I'll find you a new home.
Right. And Jarmo said that to them from the first meeting. He said to us there were games that they should not have lost, that the effort was lacking. Clearly, you think back to the game against Calgary, the game against St. Louis. And what it means to me, guys, is really actually you can turn it into quite a positive. These guys don't want to leave. These guys want to play for the Buffalo Sabres and win for the Buffalo Sabres. They didn't want to get traded. They didn't want to get run out of town by Jarmo Kekalainen. So they really kind of snapped to, so to speak, and put out the kind of effort on an every night basis that we have needed to see for a long time. Think of these last, 28 games now, 21, 5-2. How many stinkers have there been? Really?
Under Jarmo?
Columbus,
Yeah.
when they had the 10-game winning streak, that was and Columbus, frankly, has played really well and beat Tampa when Tampa was in their long winning streak. And the last game against Pittsburgh was a product of the schedule, I think, too. They just ran out of gas.
Yeah.
But that wasn't an effort issue. That were in that game. They were down that game by a goal. I think it shows these guys want to be here. And Jarmo scared some of them straight, and the effort has been there on an every night basis. The results have been there, and you see what the results have been.
On the topic of Jarmo, hot topic issue is not necessarily issue, but a concern, I think, is the trade deadline and improving this team, being buyers rather than sellers, entering an entire new realm that this team's fan base isn't really used to. What do you think realistically he could get done before that trade deadline, and what area of the team do you think needs it most?
Well, I think anything is possible with Jarmo, as we've learned from his time in Columbus. But the obvious need here is depth on defense. You're looking at a top four on defense who've been terrific all year. They're playing too many minutes. You cannot run Dahlin, Samuelsson, Power, Byram all for 23 to 25 minutes every single night. Your third pair has to be able to play. And there have been nights where Bryson and Metsä have been pretty decent, and Kesselring has been up and down, and he's had some moments. You're going to get Connor Timmins back, and that's going to really help in certain areas, shot blocking, penalty kill. But Connor Timmins even wasn't great at 5-on-5 before he got hurt. But that's kind of like a trade because he's been out a while. You're going to need to make another trade to get another veteran defenseman in here. And, this is some of it is our PTSD from 2006, obviously.
Yeah.
But you can't have enough defense. And I look at it that Bryson and Metsä should probably be numbers 7, 8, 8, 9, not 5, 6. So you have your top two pairs. You're probably going to have Kesselring on pair 3. You need someone to play with Kesselring. I want to see another NHL veteran in here. And that, to me, is the number one thing. People say, oh, they need scoring. They need this and that. Yeah, you can try at any position who you want to get. Do they need – I'm tired of hearing people, oh, they need a top 6 forward. They're 8th in the league in goals, people. Can we stop? And what are they in goals since December 9th? I haven't even looked it up. It's higher than 8th.
Yeah.
They need a top 6 forward. They need help on defense. And the other thing, guys, let's keep in the back of our minds. We don't know when we come back from the break what Luukkonen's status is going to be.
Yeah, that's a scary thing, right? Like,
it's a scary thought.
Colton Ellis has had his moments for sure.
But Alex can you go in the playoffs with
Alex Lyon's the workhorse. He has the experience. He's your starter, right? I mean, I don't think there's any questioning that. Like, he's your guy.
Can you go in the playoffs with Alex Lyon and Colton Ellis if something is wrong with Luukkonen? So they're going to have to figure out, do they need to be in the goalie market or not? If Luukkonen's fine, they don't. Luukkonen and Lyon will be your two goalies. But clearly, the number one item, they have to do something about their depth on defense. You want to get a fourth liner in here, whatever, that's fine. Greenway's probably not going to play. I don't know. Don't talk to me about scoring. I need to see more defensemen here.
And just a couple names real quick. We've heard Logan Stanley. I think a few people have.
Sure.
I mean, I've thrown out the name Philip Roenick, given the way that Vancouver's been going. Obviously, he wouldn't be a third pairing type guy. He would potentially even be a top pairing or your second pair. Is there anyone that you've had your eye on that you think could be a real possibility to trade for?
You know, I've noticed Logan Stanley, of course, when the Sabres played Winnipeg. That's a good choice. You know, we'll see. It's funny. A guy who I don't think would be all that interested, but would really be actually would fit the role nicely would be Tyler Myers. You know, would be another one. But you know, they need somebody in here, guys, who can give them 15 minutes a night. You know, and I think that's what we're looking at here. You need to see that third pair has gone from 8 to 10 minutes. That third pair needs to play 13, 14 minutes a night and do it well. And so you need somebody in here with a little experience. And, you know, Stanley, I think would be a good choice if Winnipeg's looking to move him. And there's a couple others out there, but that's the one that has absolutely jumped out at me as well.
And now you have a GM who's not afraid. Well, we're going to assume that he's not afraid to trade an asset to get a player to improve this roster now.
He didn't draft any of them, so he can trade Ryan Johnson, or he can trade almost anybody. That's the thing with Adams. You knew if that's an Adams guy, they're probably not going to move him. If that was a Botterill pick, they might move him. You know, and that's why I think Adams I always liked it from the start, but the Savoy for McLeod trade really was a departure from Adams. He parted, you know, with one of his top picks. Made a deal for an NHL player. And I say this all the time. In baseball, your prospects are there to be traded as much as they are to develop and play on your team. One of the problems, the Sabres have been waiting on their prospects, and they've developed a bunch of them, no doubt, but it takes a long time. Sometimes you need to move them to get real NHL players. And you brought in Ryan McLeod, who had just been in the Stanley Cup final. That made a difference on this team.
Yeah, and defensively, like you said, like you talked about 06 there, and that did give me a little PTSD. Like thinking how bad, like we were just talking about that actually yesterday at work. Just like I remember walking through the halls of and like I was my senior year of high school, and it's before social media, and it started to like work its way up the halls. The JV bikini staph infection. I remember being like, no, there's just no way. There's just no way that guy is hurt. There's no possible way he could be hurt too. There's just no, that's not fair. Like, that's not fair. There's no, like, I always say that was the year we should have won the cup. It wasn't 99. As much as I love Hasek, you still had to win that game and win another to win that cup.
Right.
That, in my opinion, was the cup that would have been ours. I think we would have steamrolled Edmonton.
You know, when you look at it now, you don't want to run into that situation again. And to this day, I do not blame Darcy Regier for that. What team have you ever seen lose 4 defensemen in one series? It just doesn't happen. You were playing, what were they at? Number 10 or 11 on defense? They had Janik out there, Gilson. Nathan Page. I mean, it was game 7. I remember my former colleague, John Vogel, telling me the day before, he was introducing himself in the locker room to players like Nathan Page, Doug Janik. He's introducing himself to players the day before game 7 of the conference final after covering the team all year. That's how dire the situation got. And the Sabres, of course, had a 2-1 lead going to the third period. You don't want to get into that situation this year. You can't help it if 4 guys get hurt. Right now, once Kesselring figures it out, you bring Timmins back, they'll be pretty healthy in defense. They need better play in that bottom group. They have to not be so reliant on Bryson and Metza. And Bryson had been pretty decent for a while. He's been pretty terrible lately. The Pittsburgh game especially, he was not tenable out there whatsoever. You need better play from that group and just more reliable 10, 12, 13 minutes a night from your third pair.
Yeah, and as of when I'm reading, at least what the internet's telling me, Connor Timmins is still on crutches, so he's not going to be anything close to coming back anytime soon.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, you know what? You get this 2-week break. Who knows what we're going to see when they come back to practice on the 18th. Like I said, Timmins will be one of the questions, obviously, and the first thing I want to see is Luukkonen out there? How does he look? That was a very nebulous injury in terms of we saw what happened against Toronto, but no one really knows the severity of it. You pretty much figured when it happened he was probably toast for the Olympics and they were going to keep him home, and now you got to find out, is he better?
Mm-hmm.
Speaking about prospects earlier, I think the unanimous top 2 prospects in the system who have already made an impact in the NHL are Noah Ostlund and Konsta Helenius. Me and Duane have had a few spirited debates over whether or not those 2 players specifically are untouchable. I think it depends on the player that would be coming back, but I think that especially Noah Ostlund and the steadiness that he's had and the way that he's played, he's earned his right to be in this lineup for the rest of the season. It seems to me, at least. Do you think that even, let's say, if Yuri Kulik gets back healthy, Josh Norris gets back healthy, even Jordan Greenway, is Noah Ostlund on this team through the rest of the season and into the playoffs?
Well, it's an interesting question. I have serious doubts how much more we're going to see Jordan Greenway the rest of the year. He might be headed for another surgery. I have doubts about Yuri Kulik. I know they've said repeatedly we expect him back. Blood clots are a serious thing.
Yep.
And we haven't seen him now since November 1st. We almost saw Norris back before the break. I think they just exercised caution there. Norris was pretty much ready to play.
He sounded pretty frustrated during an interview, too, that he wanted to be out there.
Yeah, and I think they were just really exercising caution. So you're right, Connor. Can they make a deal? Would a deal have to include Helenius? Would it have to include Ostlund? Do they want to do that? I don't think so. To be honest with you, I think they would probably try to steer a team more toward Jack Quinn than they would give up Helenius or Ostlund. I think especially we've seen Ostlund this year. We've seen Helenius already. He's not ready to be a full-time NHLer yet, but you see what's there. You see with Helenius what's coming. I think Helenius can be a poor man's Brad Marchand down the road here. I think Helenius needs to benefit in playing for Rochester again and helping that team on another playoff run. But if there's injuries, I think Helenius can help the Sabres too. You're right, though. Noah Ostlund has developed. They've been patient with him. He played another year in Sweden. And I just like the fact that, this is kind of Kevin Adams thinking. Noah Ostlund was going nowhere with Kevin Adams because they acquired him in the Eichel trade. But if you look at the Eichel trade now, you can never win the trade, quote unquote. The best player went the other way. The best player won a Stanley Cup. I don't know. Alex Tuck, Peyton Krebs, Noah Ostlund, and Jordan Greenway.
Yeah,
that's a pretty good deal. 4 NHL players.
Yeah, and we did get into a pretty spirited debate. Like, I'm sorry, like if St. Louis is calling and they're offering you Jordan Kyrou or Rob Thomas,
you got to talk about it.
Yeah, I'm sorry, they're not untouchable. They're just not. Right. They're not. Like, there's
no way. You fit in? How do you fit in? Everybody wants them. How do you fit in Jordan Kyrou or Robert Thomas on the cap?
Yeah, well, that too. Well, hopefully, before you even have that conversation, Jarmo has that figured out. It might involve, Jordan Greenway going on long-term IR. That's probably the first part of that. Sure. Maybe it is a Jack Quinn trade. To me, like, you don't say no to that because you're so they haven't proven anything. They've proven that they belong in the NHL, and that's about it. They haven't proven that they're at that level, though. Like, you're hoping that they'll be a Rob Thomas. They're hoping that they'll be, at a Jordan Kyrou when he's playing at his best.
And I'm tired of the future.
Yeah, I'm done
with the future. If you can win this year and you can get a Jordan Kyrou or a Robert Thomas, you have to think about it. And it's not that you're mortgaging the future. It's that you legitimately have a chance to take this team, and people say, wow, they're just going to get killed in the first round of the playoffs. I say, no, they're not going to get killed in the first round of the playoffs, because which team in the Eastern Conference bothers you? If they go into a 7-game series with the Detroit Red Wings or the Montreal Canadiens, That's a 50-50 series either way. And frankly, if they play against the Detroit Red Wings, the Buffalo Sabres are going to be the favorite. So
I agree with you there.
This team can do damage in the playoffs. This is no longer, this is what I was thinking might be in this franchise. This is no longer sneak in as the second wild card, lose in 5 games. That's not what this is about anymore. This team is good enough to play and win in the playoffs.
One more elephant in the room for me, the power play, specifically the power play entry. I think there was one power play against the Penguins where they cleared the zone 6 or 7 times in one power play, and they were banging their head against the wall, trying to enter the zone with possession, not trying anything new. Have you heard anything about what they're doing to try and improve that? And do you envision something changing to, I think they're 18th to 20th. They're hovering right around that percentage-wise relative to the rest of the NHL, at least recently. Do you envision anything changing to get that power play into the top half of the league where, given the talent, it absolutely should be?
Yeah, but you look at it, and the power play is a big talking point because they have some lousy power plays. They've also scored a goal in, what was it, 6 straight games? So that's pretty good too. I mean, you have to look at it both ways. I do think the Pittsburgh game, especially, the power play was terrible. The entries were terrible. That one opportunity in particular you referenced was just putrid. It struck me that it almost was like they need to get the number 1 unit off the ice, get them off faster when that power play was going on. I don't like the back pass. I can't
stand the slingshot.
Yeah, I hate that stuff. But they have gotten away. They are more flexible. They have gotten away to just feeding Thompson one-timers on the flank. So, they still do it, but they don't do it as every opportunity. They have crashed the net quite a bit more. I do think you're looking at it kind of through the prism of higher expectations for this club. This power play is quite a bit improved over last year.
Mm-hmm.
But now you want a power play to match where this team is in the standings, and that should be in that 8 to 12 range instead of 18 to 20. But it is interesting to me how, some teams have great power plays, and some teams with elite players struggle to figure it out. The Pittsburgh Penguins have struggled on the power play for years, even when they were really good. Now they're pretty good again this year.
The Avalanche this year.
The Avalanche this year. Explain the Avalanche's power play. Explain how the Avalanche basically can't win a shootout with all the guys they have on their roster. It's just power plays are fickle things.
They are. And it would drive. It was that Pittsburgh game specific because I was in attendance for that game, and if I had to watch them just drop that puck back for that, again, it's a slingshot, and just you have 3 guys lined at the blue line waiting for it. At that point, just dump it in.
Dump it in.
Like play a little dump and chase. Who cares at that point? And I got to this argument a few times last week with your normal Twitter crowd. I was just like, listen, yeah, they've scored in 6 games. Okay, cool. I'm glad you know that statistic. But the only time they're scoring on the power play is when they finally win a faceoff in the offensive zone and they get control that way.
Well, and the other thing you'll see that change a little, I think, when you get Norris back in the lineup. Norris's value, to me, he's a great playmaker. He's got great hands. He can score. But, boy, Norris makes a difference on the power play just at the faceoff. How many times do they start an offensive zone faceoff on the power play and they lose the draw? And it's banged down the ice out of the zone. Norris can really kind of get rid of that issue and kind of solve that problem. And they haven't had him for a while, and I think you've seen some of the result.
Regarding trades, I think that's another subject people have brought up, potentially bringing in not necessarily just a face-off guy, but that type of guy that could make that type of difference. Let's say a Vincent Trocheck or our good friend Ryan O'Reilly. If they do make a trade for forward, be it like a top 9 guy or even a bottom 6 guy, do you think that's something that they would potentially be interested in?
Yeah, I think they're interested in that. And I think that speaks to, well, they've got the team, they can go now. Well, if there's a hockey trade out there, they could do a hockey trade. Again, what's one of the best hockey trades we've seen recently from Kevin Adams? It was Casey Middlestat for Bowen Byram. So is there a hockey trade out there? Jack Quinn for ex-veteran middle face-off guy, something like that could be out there. I think Jarmo Kekalainen, we don't know what he's going to do. We've never seen it before. We have an idea he has no fear, so we expect him to do something. I think he's going to do something. He's going to get that defenseman. I think there's a good chance that there's going to be something really out of left field here that we're not thinking about, we didn't expect, and we're going to say, Jarmo Kekalainen did that? Wow, that's pretty cool, because we're not used to that with this club. And, I mean, Kevyn Adams also, he never had the chance to be a buyer except 22-23 when at the trade deadline, or 21-22, I lose track of years now. At the trade deadline, they didn't really think they were in it as much as they were, and he kind of whiffed not doing anything there. But this is, I mean, guys, this is the first time in what, 13 years, 14 years, maybe that 11, 12 they should have been. They're buyers. They're not selling. They're buyers. So who knows what Jarmo Kekalainen might pull out here, because he's not afraid, and we know that from his time in Columbus.
They just introduced the one of the AHL All-Stars. I just saw it on Rochester's feed, and it seems like half of the Rochester team is on the AHL All-Star team.
And Hellenius just won fastest skater, actually.
Did it? I'm pretty sure Levi's there too as well, I believe.
You know, the Amerks have, I think one of the underrated stories of the season is the job that Michael Leone's doing in Rochester.
Oh, yeah.
Losing some of the guys that he has lost to the Sabres. He's done a great job. I think you're going to lose Michael Leone out of the organization if you don't put him on the bench in Buffalo soon. I think he might be worthy of that role as an assistant coach up here. He's done a terrific job down there after and a tough act to follow, because Seth Apper did a terrific job in Rochester as well. But yeah, the Amerks are hanging around, and I think it would do Hellenius a lot of good. You know, especially when the Sabres get Norris back, they might not have room for Hellenius anyway. Would do him a lot of good to really help the Amerks and get another run in the playoffs, because he did a great job last year against Laval too.
Do you think if there is no trades made, or I mean, I'm assuming there will be a trade made, but maybe it's not coming from the forward group, do you think Hellenius is the odd man out going back to Rochester?
Yeah, right now he is. If you pencil out this roster right now, I think he is. And I think he's the odd man out, and I think he's the first guy who gets the first phone call if somebody gets banged up. So he is basically right on the cusp right now. Hellenius is right on the cusp of being an NHL regular player. I think he's going to be an NHL regular next season. I don't think you're going to be able to keep him out of the lineup. But we've seen enough already. He's had some quiet games lately before they sent him back. But we saw enough in this stint, kind of like what we saw at the end of last year from Ostlund, who didn't hit the score sheet, but you started to see a lot of progress at this level. We've seen that from Hellenius too. And, you know, guys, when he got picked that night in Vegas, you know, you didn't know a lot. You knew the name. You had done some of the research. My phone, I got 3 or 4 texts within 10 minutes of the pick going, holy cow. What a steal. I can't believe that guy was sitting there at number 14, and that's who Buffalo got. The reaction I got from people that night, as soon as the pick was made, has been justified by what we've seen on the ice this season.
Well, I heard too that, like, you know, that day when they picked him, because I heard some stuff but pre-draft about him. But after your top 3 picks, like, he was the most NHL ready. I think even Olli Jokinen was very, very animated about how he could have played in the NHL that year if they wanted him to.
Yeah, I mean, it was amazing. We had the weird pick of Seneca by Anaheim at number 3, which has turned out to be a pretty good pick.
Yeah,
he had the run of different guys. He had some defensemen in there, and Hellenius just kept dropping and dropping. And you know. Well, now we're on what are we on? The 3-syllable pronunciation of his last name now. The 4-syllable pronunciation's out, I guess. We're Hellenus now. But they decide that's going to be hard for me to ever get away from the first one.
Yeah.
But they decided that they knew right then and there he was going to be their guy, and they were hoping he made it to their pick, and he did.
Connor, do you have anything else before we get into the Olympics?
Yeah, real quick back to coaching. I think there's been a lot of Jack Adams talk for Lindy Ruff. If the Sabres do in fact make the playoffs, one, do you think he actually gets the Jack Adams? And number 2, this is the last year of the contract that he signed. Let's say they make the playoffs, they go on a little run. Do you think Lindy sticks around? And if he doesn't stick around, I think there's at least some fear amongst the fan base that Seth Appert will be a Joe Brady type and slide right into that role?
No.
Or do you think that they would do an extensive search and try to bring somebody else in?
No, Lindy's going nowhere. Lindy's going nowhere. They don't care. He doesn't care about his contract right now. He's trying to win and go deep in the playoffs.
Mhm.
They'll take care of Lindy. Lindy gets to choose. If Lindy wants to go off in the sunset, he can. He's not going in. I think Lindy's coming back. I think Lindy thinks he can win here.
Even if it's not as a head coach, I think he has like an empty office ready for him in the front office. You know what I mean? Like he's never. I don't think Terry didn't even want to fire him to begin with. Like the first time around.
Lindy's going to be the coach here. Lindy, I could almost bet the house Lindy's going to get another 2-year deal and be the coach here some more. It hasn't come up yet. It will start coming up now. I don't even think it's a concern.
And regarding Jack Adams, do you think he's a legitimate chance to win the award?
I do think there's going to be an element of, especially based on how the Olympics go, there's going to be an element of, hey, this is probably the year we should be voting for Cooper. You know, if Tampa really continues blowing it out like they have been. I know Jared Bednar probably deserves a lot, but the Avalanche haven't been real good in the last 15 games or so. If Tampa continues going crazy and if Cooper were to win the gold medal, which isn't supposed to count, but let's be honest, it'll matter. I think there'll be a large sentiment for Cooper, but Lindy Ruff is clearly going to be one of the top 3 or 4 choices for that trophy if the Sabres make it. And just for the record, everyone, the writers do not vote for the Jack Adams Award. Jack Adams Award is voted on by the NHL Broadcasters Association. I do not have a Jack Adams vote. I do have a Hart Trophy vote and a Norris vote and a Lady Bing vote. We do not vote for Coach of the Year. So please hold your cards, letters, emails, tweets, whatever. Thank you very much.
Masterton Trophy, I think.
We vote, yes. The Masterton Trophy is actually the actual award of the Professional Hockey Writers Association. So we do vote for that one as well.
I'd have to imagine Darlene would be at the top of a lot of ballots given what he's been through.
I have to believe when you talk about, perseverance and dedication to hockey, that Rasmus Dahlin has to rate exceptionally high in that area.
I tend to agree. And now, even with the recent news we found out was a week or two ago, we didn't even know it was bad enough what he's been through as it is, and then to find that out and still play at the level he has played at this season.
Yeah.
Given everything he's been through. It's incredible if you ask me. I think the last guy at Sabre to win a Masterton, I think, was probably was it Rob Ray?
Rob Ray won the King Clancy for sure.
Was the King Clancy? I'm sorry. Okay. I'm not sure if any.
I don't know that up. If many Sabres, didn't Don Luce win the Masterton one year?
Maybe LaFontaine. He did a ton in the community.
That's an interesting question. You have to do a quick Google on that one.
Yeah, Don Luce in 1975.
Don Luce won the Masterton.
And then LaFontaine in 95.
Oh, LaFontaine.
Okay. You were right. You were right. The King Clancy. I don't know why I mixed those two up. My last question, and we have a fan question here before we get to the Olympics. Alex Tuck. I know we talked a little bit about him, but we mentioned his comments, in that interview. And for me, you don't say that you don't say something like that, and as passionately as he said it, if you planned on leaving in the offseason. If this team gets the playoffs, do you foresee him getting this done before the deadline or before this team ultimately hopefully makes the playoffs, or is this an off-season thing?
Yeah, I'm not sure there's any pressure. I mean, they put this on the back burner because Alex Tuck wanted to concentrate on winning hockey games. I don't think there's any pressure. They have all these national guys. I got to figure this out for the trade deadline. Why? They're not trading Alex Tuck. That's ridiculous. All these national guys going on and they're going to. Why? Even if he's not signing, you're going to keep him as your own rental anyway. You can't trade Alex Tuck.
Yeah. I don't think you're trading him. Regardless, you would have to seriously tank.
You would
coming out of the Olympic break.
Duane, you would devastate your locker room if you traded Alex Tuck.
Darlene, Tage Thompson, just the culture.
Right.
I just can't see it ever happening.
It's not. And you know what? If you lose Alex Tuck in free agency, so be it. I've said this on multiple shows recently. Why is it such a crime in hockey that if a guy leaves in free agency? It happens in baseball all the time. Yep. Bobachet just did it in Toronto. He had a 3-run homer in Game 7. He left in free agency. The Blue Jays didn't get rid of him. They wanted to win. The Sabres aren't getting rid of Alex Tuck. They want to win this year. So if they lose them, they lose them. But I don't think they're going to lose them.
And
They're
we
gonna
know-
figure this out.
And we know Jarmo is not afraid to roll the dice. We saw him do it with Panarin and Bob.
Right. See,
So-
Alex Tuch's not getting traded. All these clowns are going to have their trade board for the trade deadline. Alex Tuch's going to be on it. It's a waste of internet space. They should move on. It's not happening.
We have one question here from formerly Owen Power sucks 25 to now Jake Bryson sucks 78. Mike, do you see the Sabres team struggling with playoff intensity the first few games of the playoffs? Playoff hockey and regular season are very different.
No, because you know what? What if they're playing the Detroit Red Wings, who haven't been in the playoffs in 10 years, for one thing? Okay. The second thing is, they're very different. Okay, well, KeyBank Center is going to be very different too. It's not like, well, they're going to go into Montreal. It's a tough place to play. I got news for you. It ain't going to be easy for anybody to come to Buffalo. Imagine the scene. Imagine what that's going to be like.
People outside.
Right. Imagine what this is going to be like the first home playoff game in 14 years. It's going to be a circus here.
What if it is against the Canadiens? Do you envision a scene like it was a couple weeks ago with all of that red in the 100 level? Do you think that the Sabres ticket office
Can't see it.
will do some type of geofencing?
Absolutely.
Will not sell tickets to Canadian addresses?
Absolutely. If I'm the Sabres, if I'm not doing zip code restriction on Canadian fans, or if they're playing Detroit and I'm not doing zip code restriction on fans from Michigan, they're crazy. And
I agree.
Don't tell me they can't do that, because it's done all the time. It's done by the Nashville. I guarantee you, if the Sabres play the Carolina Hurricanes, they will do zip code restriction on fans from New York to buy tickets in Raleigh. So the Buffalo Sabres better get on the stick here and keep the visiting fans out. And other teams do it. They need to do it because they got more inventory than most of these teams do. And what happened the other night against the Montreal Canadiens was a disgrace. It shouldn't have happened. It's partly their fans' fault. It's partly their season ticket holders' fault. It's partly the fault of, just the general ticket sales. Back in the fall, a lot of Montreal fans hopped on the tickets right away for that Saturday night. So that's not the Sabres' fault. They had a lot of tickets available. They don't have a lot of season ticket holders. The Sabres need to be doing a better job in this area. Now, it should improve next year. That I would think they'll have more season ticket holders. But in the short term in the playoffs, absolutely they should be doing whatever geo-blocking you do, whatever credit card blocking, anything you do that Nashville's done, that Carolina's done, that the Capitals have done, they should be doing it.
And as far as you know, that's not against any specific rule. They are technically allowed, or is that just frowned upon? Is there something preventing that from happening?
No, all these other teams do it. Here's the answer everybody has. Oh, there's 40% of the season ticket holders are Canadians. We're not blocking season ticket holders from Canada.
No, just a single game tickets.
Single game sales.
Yeah.
Because if you're a Sabres season ticket holder, you're probably not selling your tickets to a Montreal fan for a playoff.
No, you're not.
You're gonna go. I mean, I know there were people who had buyer's remorse and seller's remorse. They sold their ticket to that game against the Montreal Canadiens September, October, and they wished they were in the stands that night, and their ticket was gone. So I think that'll change in the playoffs, but the Sabres have to do something about it. They're going to have to be proactive about it. It's going to be unpopular. And you know what? It was unpopular. Nashville did it with Chicago fans, and other teams do it. They need to do it. And when their captain mentioned it after losing to the Montreal Canadiens, that to me sealed the deal. You better do something about it.
Yeah, 100%. And I've talked about it plenty of times on the show, just with friends. Like, they have two generations of hockey fans in Buffalo don't know what a good hockey looks like, and they don't realize that those walls can shake, man.
Yeah,
like that's how loud it gets in that building. It is such a surreal, Bills Mafia, Bills games, awesome. That's great. You haven't heard loud, man, in that building. Like it gets out of control, and then you see fan bases like Nashville and Toronto and fill in the blank who do these big parties. We started that. That started right here in Buffalo, New York in 05, 06. I remember being out there with my friends, thousands of people with the big screen in front, just losing their collective minds. I remember we brought a trash can, and this is probably dangerous and stupid, but we were 21. We brought a bunch of Senators memorabilia and pictures of Daniel Alfredson and we just burned it. We just burned it in the 05-06 series. We're like, we need all the voodoo we can get, Ed. But it was such a fun experience. Fans tailgating in parking lots, like, oh my God! If you can't get amped up for that,
remember they can't do that anymore, Duane.
What's up?
You can't do that anymore because the parking lot everybody tailgated in during the playoffs is now where Harbor Center is.
Oh, Harbor Center, yeah. I mean, unless you're doing it in the independent lots, I don't know if that's even allowed. But like, you got to imagine, like, there's a lot more bars and different stuff downtown than there was 15 years ago. So it's going to be absolutely popping. Fatty Beer will be popping, no doubt. It's on Genesee, not that far away from like a trolley, a 5-minute trolley away. But like, it's going to be insane. If you as a team can't get amped up for that atmosphere, then I don't know what to tell you. It's going to be unreal. And I think this team can win if healthy and you get the goaltending, they can win a playoff series or two.
Absolutely. Not even a doubt in my mind.
Real quick on the Olympics, obviously only 2 participants from the Sabres. What do you see Rasmus Dahlin's role on Sweden being? And we saw the line projections for USA come out yesterday. It looks like Tage is going to be on the 3rd line with Dylan Larkin and Dylan Larkin and Kyle Connor. Do you see Tage potentially getting power play 2 time? What do you see for both of those players in the Olympics?
I mean, I think at some point you'll see Tage maybe even getting power play 1 time. But we knew that Tage going in was probably going to be a bottom 6 guy. And that's fine. Tage's more than willing to take a role. Look at the role he played in the World Championships. He can produce. Dylan Larkin, that's an interesting combination. Kyle Connor. I mean, I love Team USA's first 3 lines. Don't get me off the topic of Trocheck and Miller and those clowns. Good Lord.
JT Miller.
So here, I'll give you my brief synopsis of Dahlin. I think everybody's sleeping on Sweden as a potential gold medalist in this tournament. I think it could happen. Still, Canada should be the favorite. Their goaltending is kind of iffy. Dahlin, I think he's with Forsling right now from what I saw.
Yep.
Great, interesting pair there. First time to really get a chance to play with Hedman. I know Dahlin's wanted that for a while, and he's going to enjoy this one compared to 2018, where he was, like he even admitted, kind of young and stupid when he played in the Olympics the last time. Here's my biggest take on the Olympics, guys, is what are we doing? What are we doing, Bill Guerin? What are you doing? Okay, the U.S. has not won since 1980, and part of it is this whole thing about we've got to have roles and we've got to fill roles like we did in 1980 with the college kids. Okay, so let's put a team out there and let's leave Cole Caulfield home and let's leave Jason Robertson home.
Insanity, man.
Let's leave Alex DeBrincat home. Let's not consider Alex Tuck for all the things he could do. And let's let the Rangers coach, who has done nothing really since he won his last Stanley Cup with Pittsburgh 9 years ago, and the Rangers GM, who's helping Bill Guerin, put the Rangers players on the freaking team. Let's put JT Miller, who is clearly the worst captain in the NHL, clearly doesn't know how to be a captain.
Nope.
Of a terrible last place team. Let's put him on the Olympic team. Let's put Vincent Trocheck on the Olympic team, who has some value. And frankly, it seems to be almost like a tryout to see if Bill Guerin can play with the merchandise before he trades for it. Let's put them on the Olympic team instead of Caulfield. And I tell you guys, people are going to lose their minds if this American team, forget about winning. Imagine if they lose and don't score goals. What's going to happen with the idea of USA hockey? They're going to need a complete reevaluation of this. Somebody, either the US or Canada, is going to be really mad. Unless that's the gold medal game. But I think the possibility is that the Heat's going to be on. U.S. is going to have some easy pool play, I think. But the Heat's going to be on right away. And if they don't score goals in the medal round and they go out early, everything Bill Guerin has done is under the microscope here. You don't hear a lot, guys. Do you hear a lot about the roster choices for Team Canada? Really, you hear some. But nothing like you've heard about the U.S., and some of these choices are just unbelievable. I mean, we just saw last week against Montreal, we saw Cole Caulfield. Good Lord.
It's so good, man.
That guy's not on the Olympic team. Are you kidding me? Are you serious? What are we doing?
It blows my mind, Mike, given what we've seen from JT Miller, like I understand that you invited him to the camp and yeah, he's like on the roster, but
And he was on Four Nations. He doesn't have to be on the team.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't back check.
No.
He does not back check. And he gives up on plays. It's not something we see it with my own two eyes. I've seen it at least 3 times this season watching JT Miller give up on plays when the puck is in their zone that two of those times have led to goals.
You know what it comes down to for me is
that's not leadership.
They couldn't figure out a way to get Adam Fox on the team because he hasn't been good enough. The defense they have is better, so they didn't take Adam Fox, but they had to placate Sullivan and Drury, so they took JT Miller and Trocheck. And I mean, the New York Rangers have just been – they are the worst team in the Eastern Conference. How in the world do you have these two guys on your Olympic team is just beyond me. It's just incomprehensible, and it could lead to sweeping changes in USA hockey if this team goes belly up.
Regarding Canada, I think that top line of Celebrini, McDavid, and Tom Wilson is one of the best constructed lines I've seen in a long time. Their forward group is it's incredible, and I think potentially could make up for their deficiencies on the back end. Drew Doughty on your third pair potentially, and then potentially in goal, the lack of experience from Logan Thompson, and maybe even Jordan Binnington having it be his net to lose given his international experience. Yeah. What do you? Obviously, they're the favorite, but do you envision Canada rolling through to another gold medal?
Boy, I think just on basis of Four Nations, they're going to start with Binnington in goal, but they better get the Binnington we saw last February, not the Binnington we've seen this year in St. Louis.
It's been awful.
I don't know which version we're going to see, because I think Cooper's going to have a quick hook, and he's going to have to go to Thompson quickly. You know, I don't think he's going to go to Darcy Kemper. I think it would go to Thompson next. He's going to have a quick hook because they cannot, with this roster, they cannot afford to lose it on goaltending. And if Binnington goes belly up and does a full Binnington like we've seen this year, Canada will go belly up, and that's not going to happen with this kind of team. This is your last run with Crosby. This is now we're transitioning to McDavid taking over. You know, you got Celebrini on the team. You know, Nathan McKinnon. I mean, are they going to lose this by running Jordan Binnington out there? I don't think Cooper's going to make that mistake, but you're right. The funny part is the American goalies haven't been great this year, but they've been really good on paper, and they look like the kind you want to have. If I could swap the American goalies and the Canadian goalies, Canada would walk, I think.
Yeah, they might not.
I don't know if Canada's going to get enough saves.
It's tough. And imagine being a Blues fan. I've watched Binnington go out there and have be the same Binnington from Four Nations, and you're like a Blues fan, like what? Like what? Like you can't do that. You can't do that for St. Louis, but you just show up for Team Canada every time you lace up. You put that jersey on.
You know, and St. Louis just hasn't. You know, the Sabres games notwithstanding, St. Louis has been terrible. A lot of it's been Binnington. A lot of it's been the guys in front of him. I don't think St. Louis ever recovered. I don't think St. Louis ever recovered from Game 7 in Winnipeg. I think that was even though it was Montgomery just starting out, that was a franchise disarming defeat, losing a Game 7 in that fashion. And I think it has rocked them to the core, and I think it carried into this year.
I tend to agree.
Sorry, Duane. I'm interested to hear if you have a sleeper team for the Olympics. I have a team in mind that I think is a real medal threat, but I'm wondering if you had a team in mind specifically.
You know, a lot of people talk about Germany. I do question their depth. You know, they've got some top-line NHL guys when you talk about Draisaitl and Seider and even Peterka. But if you're looking at the sleeper to me has to be Czechia. I think that's the team that can sneak into the medals. I mean, David Pastrnak right now has just been unbelievable. They've got goaltending. I think they've got a lot of NHL caliber players on that club that I think they're, you know, a true sleeper in that there's no one's really paying attention to them. You know, too much of this pre-Olympic talk, and maybe it's because of just the media in North America. This isn't the women's tournament, people. This isn't Canada versus the U.S. and everybody else. It's not. It wouldn't shock me at all if Sweden won the gold medal. It wouldn't shock me at all if Czechia won a medal here. You know, it's not just Canada and the U.S. in this tournament. Things can go wrong for Canada and the U.S. that we can all see. And there's a lot of pressure on those two countries. These other countries, especially the two I mentioned, can really make some inroads here. And I'm interested to see how good Germany can be in this thing. They didn't get a chance, obviously, in Four Nations. So can Germany, pull a couple surprises as well?
Yeah, and you have some good big experience at Czechia too. You got, Palat, who obviously has, pedigree in the playoffs, the Stanley Cup. You got Martinikas. You have, and for guys who have had success in the past, 3-time 30-goal scorer, you got Tomas Hertl, Radek Faska. I'm just going up and down this roster. That's a good roster. And like you said, leading the way are guys like David Pasternak, and then you have goalies like Dostal and Vlamek. I can never say his name, right? Vladar, and who's probably your third goalie, obviously, and then Vlamek out of Utah. So that
right. I mean, you look at their goaltending. You want to put Vladar or Dostal in there. They're definitely top 10 goalies in the NHL this season.
Yep.
And that's a tough first game for Canada too, for a team that hasn't had much experience together. I think the U.S. absolutely, and you mentioned this earlier, they absolutely have an easy group. I think Latvia, Germany, and Denmark isn't necessarily what you expect of the Olympics. How much would this tournament, I've read a couple articles in the past few days, projected lineups, how much would this tournament have been altered if Russia was indeed allowed to play?
Boy, you might be making the case for Russia to be the favorite if they were in this thing. I mean, you look at who they could run out in goal, Vasilevsky, Shesterkin, Sorokin, a team with Nikita Kucherov, Malkin looking like the Malkin of old this year. I mean, the Russians could have really run out a club here. And we've seen Kucherov already last week or so made the comment, this isn't a best on best tournament without Russia, because he knows. To me, if Russia was in this tournament, the Russian team you could put together is absolutely a medal team right now, and certainly would be challenging for the gold.
I agree. And listen, it doesn't matter what type of season you're having in the NHL. When you're representing your country, you find it a way to take it up a notch. It's a different type of intensity. You get this opportunity. We're not even going to say this might be their only opportunity for, they might not bring the Olympics back again 4 years from now. You don't know.
Well, they are committed. It would be quite a shock if they didn't.
Yeah.
They are committed to the 2030 Olympics in France.
I
think if this was a disaster, if this arena disaster had actually played out, maybe that would have changed. But it seems like things have worked out with the arena in Milan. I'm not an Olympics fan, guys, for what it does to the NHL season. Mm-hmm. Strike me down for actually taking a position where I agree with owners. I shouldn't do that, but I do. But it's too important to the players. And the league understood if the players made it that important an issue, they kind of had to go with it. And the players have made it clear they all want to be there. I haven't heard a single player say anything negative but the chance to go to the Olympics. They understand what it entails during their season, the travel being tighter, the games being tighter. They all are willing to make the sacrifice. So I think you need to trust them. You need to trust the players and do it. And that's what they're doing. And I wrote a line in my column a couple weeks ago that people emailed me about they really agreed with. Are we going to remember anything about any individual game in February if we were still playing NHL hockey? Probably not. Mm-hmm. I can run off 4 or 5 Olympic memories right now. Yeah. You can run off the Crosby golden goal, the shootout with Hasek, TJ Oshie in the shootout. Something is going to happen in these Olympics. Basically, we're going to remember forever.
Yeah.
How is that bad for the sport? Ultimately, I get it.
Yeah, in the Four Nations too. I imagine they'll do some type of representation of that again. Or, you hear talk, this past year about the World Cup of Hockey, how fun that was. That was so much fun. Team North America was such a wagon. It was so fun to watch. That speed, that game against Sweden, with Jack and McDavid and McKinnon, that whole roster was loaded. It was an NHL Stanley Cup level roster of kids 21 years and younger. It was insane.
Before Austin Matthews had ever played an NHL game. Don't forget that.
Last goaltending question for me, then I got to go play goalie myself. Team USA's goalie, do you think it's Connor Hellebuck's net to lose still, even with his relative lack of success in big-time moments? And if not, in maybe a similar situation, do you think it's a quick pull to Jake Ottinger if he starts to underperform?
I think it could be a quick pull. I think it could be a quick pull to Jeremy Swayman even. I'm not necessarily sold that it has to be Ottinger. I'm not even sold it has to be Hellebuck to start. I'm assuming it will be. I'm assuming Canada's going to start with Binnington and the U.S. is going to go to Hellebuck. But you're right. I think if anything goes astray here, it's got to be a quick pull. You can't go down with the ship with your goalie. You can't submarine the whole team with the goalie. Hellebuck, Ottinger, Swayman should be a really good goaltending trio. They haven't necessarily been all that good this year in a lot of spots, but I do think they're going to start with Hellebuck and then see what happens. But that's the thing, is that we're not producing a lot of goalies in North America for a lot of reasons. We don't need to get into it, money and expense and kids and all that stuff, changing equipment. These foreign countries are doing a better job. We're getting more goalies out of Finland. We're getting more goalies out of Sweden, more goalies out of Russia than we are in North America right now. It's just an interesting hockey question.
Appreciate you, Mike. I got to head out of here. Have a good one.
Connor. Make some saves.
I will.
I'll wrap things up, Mike. I just gotta change our there we go. And again, thanks, Mike, for coming on with us. I appreciate it. And when it comes to the Olympics, it's going to be so much of a different tournament than Four Nations. People are like looking at Four Nations and thinking, "Oh my God, we're going to get that round 2." I'm pretty sure there's no fighting allowed in the Olympics, right? Like there's no fighting, so you're not going to get that opening face-off full line. It's not happening. It's not going to happen. It's going to be fun. It's going to be intense, but don't think you're going to get the Kachuk brothers coming out and dropping their gloves and grabbing the closest guy to them. It's not going to happen.
The Four Nations was an NHL tournament. The Olympics is an IIHF tournament. It's not an NHL tournament. There's no fighting, so you're not going to get that. It's going to be different hockey. There's going to be more of emphasis on the headshots. The headshots in the IIHF, you're toast. There's no real judgment here. So we'll have to see. But there are more NHL referees doing this tournament this year. I think there's more melding of the rules between the NHL and the IIHF. The ice surface situation being shorter is going to be interesting to watch, see how that impacts the game. But yeah, I think we're going to see the biggest thing I look forward to. Something is going to happen that we're going to remember forever. So that's a good thing.
It could be a shootout. We can get another Oshie 2.0 moment, which I like. I like the rules they use in the Olympics and IHF compared to the NHL, where the same shooter can keep shooting if he wants, because that was fun. Watching Oshie again. That was cool. Mike, thanks for hopping on, man. I appreciate you.
All right, Duane, I appreciate it very much. And who knows? We could be, February 10th. We're 2 months away from talking playoffs, possibly. It's
next time we have you on, it could be a playoff preview show. That's
exciting.
That?
It could happen. So I think it will happen. We should probably mentally in our minds circle that date right now to talk again, because there's 25 games left, and you win 13 or 14, you get to 96 to 98 points. They're going to be in. It shouldn't be an issue.
Out of 25 games, what do you think they need? At least half, right? Probably need half.
I would say 13 wins out of 25, almost certainly that'd be 96.
A couple loser points.
14 wins would be 98. You almost never miss with 98. So
yeah, I think that's
going to go 14 wins.
Who's your preferred first round opponent?
Oh, the Detroit Red Wings for sure. Yeah. Whether you finish 2-3, I think that's not a team that you have a lot of intimidation with. They've beaten them twice already this year. It'll be crazy in the building. They've never had a playoff game in Little Caesars Arena since it opened. It'll be fun, but I think that's it. They drive the Sabres, drive them kind of crazy. I think Montreal is not a great matchup, even with the 2 wins recently. You know what I think about Tampa and Carolina? I think the best matchup to win a round is the Detroit Red Wings.
One last question here. Are the players allowed in the Olympics that are not in the Olympics allowed to practice with their teams during their break so they can stay in game shape or not?
They are on the Olympic break right now. The teams are allowed to practice starting on February 17th. The Sabres are starting on February 18th. You are not allowed to practice
with your team. You can skate on your own time when out with your team.
And most guys aren't skating on their own time. Most guys are on a beach in Turks and Caicos or Cabo or places
Benson like and Samuelson right now I saw on their Instagram.
Right. So February 17th, 18th, you can start practice again. So these teams will be on the ice for a few days before the schedule resumes on the 25th.
All right. Mike, we'll have you on. We'll circle that date. Thank you again, man.
All right, brother. Be good. I got to go.
I'm going to kick it back over to our sponsors here. Shout out again to Fatty Beer Company, Western New York's premier market and tap room with over 300 beers to choose from at 7 different Western locations. If you need a beer, get to Fatty Beer. Let them know Two Goalies, One Mike sent you. Impulse Physical Therapy of Western New York. 5-class facilities, 5-class staff. Hey, Western New York, it's time to ditch your physical therapy clinics that treat you like you're just another number and step into a world where you're at the center of your care. Impulse is owned by Buffalo's only board-certified sports physical therapist who work one-on-one with science-backed technology like 3D motion analysts and force plates to help you exceed your goals and become the healthiest and strongest version of yourself. So come experience the Impulse difference today and mention this for a discounted $77 assessment on your visit. And, of course, Extreme Discount Mattress with 7 Western New York locations. You can find them, their website, extrememattress.com. They have a new closeout center at 1625 Walden Avenue in Cheektowaga, with many different brands like the Cool Gel Memory Foam, Scott Living, so many different brands of mattresses you can get over at Extreme Discount Mattress. So make sure you go check them out. And we actually did just give away a $250 gift card from the hat trick contest, which hopefully we're going to link up with that guy and do some, do some content with him as he picks out his bed from Extreme Discount Mattress. I think that's the plan. I was going to shoot like a mini commercial. So with that being said, guys, awesome time with Mike. Again, thank you so much for hopping on, bud. We've been running for a little over an hour here. We will talk to you guys later. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please make sure you're subscribed, like it, wherever you're watching on, if it's on Facebook or Twitter. You can follow us on Instagram at Two Goalies One Mike. You can follow me at Duane S39. If you're watching along on YouTube, as I saw many of you are, please make sure you hit the like button. Hammer that like button. We appreciate it a lot. If you're not already subscribed. We did just hit over 1,000 subscribers. Couple clicks for us. It was a long journey to get there, but super proud of myself. Super proud of our team. Hurls, Joey, Jeff, Shawnee V, Chris Maz, Sam, amongst others. I'm probably leaving out a few guys. I'm trying to think out the top of my mind here. Intern Joey, producer Steve, Rob, you guys have all been absolute beauties. Jimmy, thanks for helping us get to, and Charles too. Thanks for helping us get to 1,000 subscribers. Mike Flatley, fellow goaltender, thank you so much for helping us get there. And then again, remember, please hit like and subscribe. We will talk to you later. And as always, go hammered my like button so hard. My screen cracked. I love it. I absolutely love it. As always, go Sabres.